Thank you for joining these live sessions. My name is George Tyson. I'm a Senior Education Advisor at North Yorkshire School Improvement Service, and I'm also EdTech Advisor for North Yorkshire Schools ICT. These meetings are brought to you via North Yorkshire Schools ICT and also the NYES, North Yorkshire Education Services. You can see on your screen here that we are looking at MiniBytes Session 7, which is an introduction to Google Forms. To go on with today, we've got 21 minutes to talk through Google Forms and everything we can do in that time. So let's quickly switch across to Google and we'll see where we start. So Google Forms is an online app which you can see is accessible through the Google browser, or if you've got an Android device, you may have an app downloaded onto your device for you, or you can have a computer and you can get any browser window will work for you. So that might be Google Chrome, it might also be Microsoft Edge, or it might be Safari or Firefox or something else. It doesn't matter, as long as you can get the Safari, as long as you can get the browser, you can then go on from there to access Google Forms. To get in the forms, you go to google.com and you sign in. You know you've signed in because you've got a letter in the corner here or your personal picture, which shows you've logged in, and that shows you your Google account. So where is Forms? There's two ways of getting to it. The first one is to click on these 9 dots together in a square there, which opens up the Google Apps menu. And you can't see it at the beginning, so I'm going to scroll down here and see where I can find these forms. You see it's this purple icon, looks like a sheet of paper with lines on it. That's the Forms icon. If I click on that, it'll take me to Google Forms. Alternatively, if I want to type in a bit faster, I can just type in the browser window here, forms.google.com. So click on that and click on Forms, and it takes me through to Forms. If you can't see the icon, then you might find that actually you don't have Forms active on your account. If you check your administrator, you'll find out if you do or not. So there's two types of forms to start with. You've got a quiz and you've got a form. The main difference between a quiz and a form is the marking aspect to it. Quizzes allow you to put scores and points next to answers and give correct answers, whereas forms, which do not have the quiz aspect, don't have points values, don't have correct answers, they're used for gathering information. So this is what you can do. You'll see here that Google actually have exit tickets, assessments, and so on as examples, and you can take these templates as you want to, and the template gallery is quite long. If you click through the template gallery, you can see here that there's different templates available to schools, or in general, you can click on these and see how they work. I'll leave you to explore the template gallery by yourself, but for now we're going to have a quick look through, starting off a blank form. You can change later on from quiz to form type, and I'll show you where you do that and how you do that later on. So I've clicked on the plus and I've now got a blank form. Now my form here is going to show all the different question types and will give you a preview of what it looks like when it's completed. So I'm going to go through everything in order, but the main parts of the screen are these. The first one is a title up here in the top left-hand side. You can give your form a title, so I'm going to call mine Art Quiz, and you'll see why in a moment. And then across the top row, there are some other options. You can give it a star, which is like giving it a favorite. If you have a favorite form, you can click on the stars, and it's easier to find your starred forms later on. Across the top right-hand side, you have the design and sharing tools. The first one is a palette. So if you click on Customize Theme, you can say you can change the color to being red or purple or blue and so on. And it changes the color and the framing. If you want to give it a background color as well, which is different, it has complementary colors here, so you can give it a nice little background touch. You can also change the font style here to be basic, or if you want to have something just slightly less legible, but slightly more decorative or formal or playful. You can pick what you want to do. I'm going to stay with basic for now because it's easy to read through a shared screen, but you can choose whatever you want to from the font styles. That's the theme options. If you want to put a header image in here, you can choose an image and you can then upload a picture, or you can select from the illustrations they've got. Now, as we're calling this an art quiz, I'm going to pick the picture of a painter with their mucky hands, their paint on their hands, and insert it. And you'll see here that after a moment, it inserts a picture. So this is all about the themes. Google have got a wide selection of pictures you can use, or you can upload your own if you have them. So school logos and so on can go in there as well. This eyeball here is a preview picture. At any point in time, you can click on preview, and it opens up a new tab at the top, and it shows you a preview of what your form looks like to date. Just close that preview when you're done, and you can see how it goes. The next one along is the cog for settings. We'll click on that just to show you briefly. This is where you can see the general information. So you can collect email addresses if you want to, but you don't have to. So by default, you wouldn't unless you wanted to track who was submitting your forms. Requiring sign-ins. This means that a user must be part of, in this case, Manfield School to be trusted. And I can also limit it to one response, so you can submit it and not get another go. That's what these tick boxes are for. If I unrestrict that, then anybody can fill in that form if they want to. So that allows you to get parents, and you can have some sort of audit or some sort of parent or pupil voice without using school email addresses. If you have that ticked, then only people in your school with the same email address as you have can use the form. Otherwise, untick it and anybody can do that. You'll notice this it requires sign-in, so that's a setting which normally you'd leave blank unless you want people to be logged in to use the form. So if it's a school activity, tick the box. If it's not a school activity or if it's for parents, then untick that box. Further down, you've got respondents can edit after submission, means that they can submit the form and then they can edit it afterwards so they can change their answers. So normally I'd leave that blank, so you do not want that to happen. And seeing summary charts and text responses, this is like giving an immediate big data response to people. So normally you would not do that to respondents. You'd share the information afterwards. But if you want to have an immediate response, you can click on that and tick these boxes. These are all in settings in the general tab. You also have presentation tab. This one here is a show progress bar. I'll put that on so you can see it. It shows at the bottom of the screen a line to say how far through the form you are. Shuffling the question order is useful if you're doing a multiple choice assessment. So say you've got 40 questions and you want to jumble them up, and you can shuffle the question order, and that will stop people from having the same questions being able to copy over the shoulder of the person next to them. The final one is show link to submit another response is at the end. You can click and you can submit again. But bear in mind that if you've said you can submit once and not again, that would be removing that link. The last one here, confirmation message, defaults to your response has been recorded being put in here. Thank you for submitting your form, and you can put anything you want to there, contact details and so on. The final bit here on quizzes, if I click this tab, this allows me to slide it across to make it a quiz, which I'm going to do for demonstration purposes, or deselect it from making a quiz. But as you'll notice here, the bottom part does light up. If you're a school that uses Chromebooks, you can lock a quiz. So if you turn on locked mode, when the child clicks on the form, they cannot go off that form until they've completed the form. So it manages through the school's Chromebook settings. The other option that you have here is releasing mark. So when you've submitted a quiz, you can get the mark immediately at the end of it, which is nice because it gives immediate feedback. Well, if you've got longer answer questions, you can do later, releasing the mark after a manual review. This is, for example, if you're doing an English subject area where you want to describe keywords and features, you might want to have a manual review of that. The last part is about what the respondent can see. They can see which questions they've missed, the correct answers, and the points values for those. The question marks on here tell you what goes on, but basically it allows respondents to get some feedback straight away on how they have filled in the form. So I'm going to leave this as a quiz and click on save. Okay, so now I've got the art quiz in place. You just click on anywhere you see grey text, you can change it. So form description here, and this is a quiz on 4 artists. And then you can see here that it says this form is automatically collecting email addresses from Mansfield school users. If I change those settings and remove that, but limit it to one response, or do that, then that's fine. Save it, and now it's giving me a chance to collect email addresses if I want to. I can change the settings and not collect email addresses, then I have no idea who's submitting the form. So that information is upfront and personal if you want to have it in the title and the heading. So let's get into the questions. We've got questions here. The first question type is always the same. It's an untitled multiple choice question. So let's just pick some artists, titles and names. That's what we're going to go for. And this one is, which artist is still working today? And it's going to be a multiple choice question. I've got other options here, but I will leave it multiple choice for now. Multiple choice means you have multiple options and you select one which is correct. And this here, I'm going to pick Munch. So Edvard Munch. I can add an option by clicking on the grey text, and I can put in another one, which is going to be Van Gogh. Was name right? Add another option, and I'm going to put in here, I'll put in Banksy. We presume that Banksy is still working, though no one knows who he is or she is. And then we'll put down Da Vinci as being a final artist there. So I've got some classic ones. Now these answers are going to be consistent throughout. If I wanted to, I could click and add an image to my options here. So I'll just click on this just to show you how it works. I click on add an image. I can either upload from my Google Drive or something similar, and it will show me. I'll put in the Harry Potter card just for an example so you can see how it inserts. I can do Google image searches. So that's there. And if I clicked on other option, if I click on add other, it allows you to put in a keyword. What does this look like so far? So I click off the question and click on the eyeball for preview it. I can see here which artists are still working today. You see I've got these grey boxes here. That's where images would go, and that's where I get my Harry Potter car. If I get rid of that image, I just click on the question. I'm going to get rid of option 5 and then look at that preview again. You see the question is now just multi-choice. Click on one, but whichever the most recent one I click on, the others disappear. If I click on other, it opens up the text area for me to answer in. You can notice at the bottom, this preview bar here is showing me how many pages or how many questions I have. I'm going to go back off the preview and back onto this question here. And I'm going to remove the other option because I don't want to have another option. I've got 4 choices there. Down the bottom, because it's a quiz, I've got this answer key. If I click on answer key, I can now say how many points the question is worth. So I make it worth 1 point, and I get to select the correct answer. So the one who's still working today is Banksy. So I click on Banksy, that shows a tick, and that will give Banksy answers 1 point. I click on answer feedback, and answer feedback allows me to give incorrect answer feedback or correct answer feedback. So if I go on this one, Banksy is the only artist from this selection is still alive. So click on that. I could do a link to a video clip there or a YouTube link here, so I can give video feedback instead if I want to. Depends on whichever you want to put into it. So feedback for incorrect answers here. Banksy is the only artist from this section who's still alive. Okay, so done, and that's my question complete. I can now see in the responses, when it's accepting responses, I would see the answers here. I'm going to move on to the next question type. So to add another question type, I need this right-hand side menu. Now this right-hand side menu gives me different options. I'm going to go from the bottom to the top so you can see what they are, because the plus is add a new question. At the bottom, you've got add a section. So adding a section is basically a new page. So this I'm going to call section 2, the art. Okay, and then this is the description. So use the pictures to answer the questions. Okay, so that's straightforward. That's section 2, the art. And at this point in time, again, I can either add a YouTube video or a video from my hard drive or my Google Drive or my OneDrive. I can add an image if I want to use that. I can click on the T to add a title and description, which is what I've just done. I can import a question set or I can add a new question. So let's add a new question. I've got section 2, the art. Now I'm not going to go for multiple choice again, but I can pick something different. Checkboxes allows me to have section 2, the art, and I can have different questions in here. So in this one here, I'm going to say which 2 artists lived at roughly the same time. Okay, so here again, I'm going to be sticking with the same one. So I'm going to go for Munch. And then if I press enter, it shortcuts to the next line. So Van Gogh. And the next one is Banksy. And the next one is going to be Da Vinci. So look at these artists here again, because I've got the answer key, I can click on these. I can make it with 2 points this time because it's got 2 artists the same. And because Da Vinci was in the 1500s, Banksy's recent days, 2000s, Munch and Van Gogh were around the back end of the 1800s. So it's going to be Munch and Van Gogh are going to be the correct answers there. Okay, I can add some correct answer feedback there if I want to. Back here and click on save. Okay, I'm going to click on done. So I've now got 2 questions. I've got checkboxes, which allows me to tick multiple answers. And I've got a multiple answers, but only one answer can be selected by clicking on that section there. Right, let's move on to a different question type. I'm not going to continue on this first section. I'm going to stay on the second section about the art. I'm going to add a new question type. I'm going to move down. So I've used multiple choice. I've used checkboxes. Drop down is the next one. So drop down allows me to see something and decide which art it's going to be. Now I'm going to just try something here. If you see this duplicate question here, instead of me creating a new question, I'm just going to duplicate this one. Okay, so it's got the same question twice, but I can now change the style from checkboxes to drop down. I can work on the answer key, and my answer to this one is going to be Van Gogh. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to change it down to 1 point. And that's given me the answer key. So I now know my answer is correct. But who painted this is going to be our question. So how do I get this picture? It's going to be a drop-down answer. I click on the add image here. So this is now having an individual image, and on Google Drive, I can click on Google Drive. Looking on my drive, I can see I've got an art example folder, which I'll click on my art example folder to open it up. And sure enough, I've got my Vincent van Gogh sunflowers there. So I'm going to insert those, and I know who's done the right answer. So now who painted this on a drop-down question. I can carry on now, so I'm going to go back to this question I created before, but I don't want to have different answers here. I can have a file upload. Now a file upload would allow me to collate students' work fairly quickly. I can say submit your work here and a file upload. So I'm going to see how this works. Okay, so let respondents upload files to Drive. It says files will be uploaded to the form owner's Google Drive. Respondents will be required to sign into Google. Continue. So this here, it works. Okay, so upload your own version of the screen here. Okay, so this might be a task which our children have been asked to do. Allows specific file types, allows you to pick images. I could do a PDF, do a drawing, I could do an image, I can do a video if I want to, or I can just leave that off and allow any file types to be put in. I'm only going to allow one file to be submitted, and I'm going to have a maximum file size of 10 meg. I can change these sizes I want to, but obviously too big is too big. The form, as it says here, can accept up to 1 GB worth of files. So I can make it 1 gig, but let's put it this way. If I make everything 1 gig, I can only have one upload file type. This question here is not going to be scored, so I'm not going to have an answer key in place. So I'm not going to have any marks. Okay, so thank you for submitting. Your teacher. We'll go back to its feedback. Save. So we've now got the upload in place. I'm going to leave that as just being 1 point to show it's been submitted. Okay, I could leave it at 0 points. In fact, I'll leave it at 0 points. So that's done. We've now got the file upload type. I'm going to go back to section 1 now, which is not about the art, it's more about the artists. And whenever I hover over a question, I get this button. So if I add question now, it'll be answered. It will be placed in the form after the first question. You'll notice none of the questions have numbers yet. We've used multiple choice, checkboxes, and drop down. We've used file upload, short answer and long answer. These are just text areas. So give the full name of the artist who painted the screen. Okay, so it's short answer text there, and then on this one, because it's a short answer, I could have a keyword answer here. So ADVARD for Edvard Munch. That'd be my correct answer, and I can make that worth 1 point. Okay, so that's where it goes. And I can say mark all of the answers incorrect, because actually that's the correct spelling, but I might just want to make sure I don't do that. So I'm going to leave that blank for now, so I can choose if it's incorrect or not when I get the submission through. So I've now got short answer text, and I've got the correct answer in there ready to mark. So if someone does that correctly in the same format as I have, then I don't have to worry about marking it. If I add another question now, a long paragraph just allows you to have multiple layers, so you can use an essay type question, but a very short one. It's quite good for plotting out English assignments. If you want to kind of do an introductory paragraph, a middle paragraph, a closing paragraph for a letter, for example, you can use the paragraph tool and have 3 questions. Linear scale, multi-choice grid, and tick box grid. Multi-choice grid is the same as multiple choice dots buttons there, the radio buttons, but it allows you to have a grid of answers, so it means you can have a scalable answer set. And tick box grid is the same, but with checkboxes, so you can answer multiple times on each row or column. A linear scale I'll show you very quickly. How many stars would you give? How many stars would you give this piece of art? I'm going to put a picture in here again. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive. I clicked on the image icon, gone to my drive to the art examples, and I'm going to pick this one here for Banksy's work. Okay, and 1 star, can go all the way through to 5 stars here. I'm not going to add anything else because labels are optional, and I can give it 1 to 10 if I want to. And now I'm going to click on these 3 dots here. Just very briefly, I could put a description in there, but I'm not going to bother. And I've realized actually I haven't told you about this, but you can click the slider here to make questions required which must be placed. This answer here is not going to be worth any points because actually there's no correct answer. It's an opinion. It's a linear scale. You can use this for Amazon style reviews. I'm going to flick to section 2, and at the end of section 2, I'm going to put a new question here, a new section. And this final section is going to be about final section, I'm going to add a question afterwards by clicking the plus button. And you can see here I'm going through all the question types very rapidly. My multiple choice grid, but if I wanted to, I can do date and time, which will be my last question. So the multiple choice grid is so how would you rate each artist? And in the rows we give titles. So this is going to be Monk. The next row is going to be Van Gogh. The next row is going to be Banksy. And the last row is going to be Da Vinci. Okay, and add columns on. I can give a column title of not good, middling, good, amazing. So then when I do this grid, again, I'm not going to put any answers to this key here. I'm just going to put it in there. I require a response in each row. So this means I'm going to get a row, an answer for each of the artists. You're going to see how that goes. Right, so that's the end of my questions. It's worth 5 points in total. I can now preview this, and we're nearly out of time. So here we go. We've got the art quiz. You can see the quiz on 4 artists. So it's saying who I am, which artist is still working today. So I'm going to say Monk is still working today, which will be wrong. I'm going to give the full name of the artist who painted the screen. So that's going to be EDWARD. Do a spelling mistake there and see what happens. I would give the Banksy art 5 stars. And you can see here I'm on my progress bar is about a third full. I click on next. You can see my next one here, the art. Use the picture to answer the questions. Okay, that's later on. Which 2 arts live roughly at the same time? Okay, so I believe it was Van Gogh and Munch. So I'll get this one right for a change. Who painted this? The drop-down question allows me to pick Banksy, definitely painted those sunflowers. And then add my updated version. I can click on that to add the file, but I'm not going to. Next, and I can see here I've got a required question here with a red star on it. How to rate each artist, so they're all amazing. I'd be silly to say otherwise. At the end, I can see my form is complete, and I can click on submit. It says thank you for submitting your form, and I can now view my score or submit another response. Click on view score, and away we go. I got that wrong. It shows me what the answer is, shows me the correct answer, gives me feedback. Question 2, got it wrong, corrects the spelling, shows me the correct spelling. Question 3, no response, no marking in place. Question 4, I got that correct, it shows me the correct answers. Question 5, I got it wrong, it shows I wasn't Banksy and the correct answer is there. The feedback could go there, but I didn't provide any for this question. Finally, thank you for submitting my submission. All the answers were amazing, and that's it. That's the immediate feedback. Obviously, more detailed feedback can come from the teacher at any time, but that is as quick as you can get about showing you how to use Google Forms. Okay, I'm going to thank you all for coming today. It's been 21 minutes of crazy fast Google Forms. If you have any further questions, you can always contact me. It's Schools ICT is a website, and we'll be sharing the details about the website, which you can go to schoolsict.co.uk if you want to find out more about 21 and 21. I'll see the session recorded. Thank you very much for your time and effort. We shall see you again sometime soon. Bye-bye.